welcome back to the sports side. And today we are here with Pakistan versus India post match review. And as usual, India defeat Pakistan. And we have with us today, representing Pakistan, Abdullah Ansari. Welcome to the show, Abdullah. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. As good as I can be after that.
Yeah. And representing India, the winning side, we have with us from representation from Edges and Sledges. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you? And congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Commiserations. Tough game for a Pakistan fan, but thank you for keeping our appointment. So I'm DJ. I'm from Edges and Sledges, the cricket podcast that focuses on Indian cricket. And yeah, it's been a good day for Indian cricket fans, but I'm sure we'll talk more about that on the show.
Yeah, and I have with me my co-host Zaid Babar Khan. How's your feelings, Zaid?
Yeah, nothing like great, but seems okay. Like it's routine, routine result. India Pakistan game, ODIs you lose next game.
Yeah, starting with Dhananjaya, what's your take? What's your initial thoughts on the game?
The initial thoughts on the game. I mean, I think Pakistan they won the toss. They chose to bat. Probably a good shout on that front. Babar didn't get too many runs. Rizwan came down the order. Um, there was a bit of a collapse halfway through, but I thought 240 was a competitive total on that track. The ball wasn't coming onto the bat as much. But look, when the dew comes down, right, like second innings, the ball comes onto the bat a bit more. Pakistan did not have as many spinners as India did. India played Jadeja, Akshar, and Kuldeep. And yeah, I mean, it was really India's day. And you guys, I don't know whether you can see that, but I'm wearing a Champions Trophy 17 sweatshirt. Pakistan were obviously beat India in that final. So, I mean, every team has its day, right? And today was a good day for Indian cricket and Indian cricket fans. They played good cricket. Kohli, King Kohli, we'll talk more about him. Uh, Faultless, chanceless, incredible innings. He saves the best for Pakistan by the looks of it. So it was, yeah, feeling positive about the Indian performance.
Yeah, moving towards Abdullah Bhai, what's your initial thoughts on the game? Like we have seen, like yesterday, me and Zaid were talking. We were expecting 250 plus total, but we at least reached that mark, 241. But do you think was it enough for in Pakistan team to defend it?
First of all, with the total, I think, okay, not with the total, I'll start with the expectations for this match. I think that any Pakistan fan would have expected India to win, even without Bumrah. With Bumrah, I think any Pakistani fan would be almost delusional to expect to win, but even without, there's a clear gap in skills and the quality of both sides. So it wasn't very surprising. The result wasn't very surprising, but in terms of how it transpired, there were lots of disappointing things that happened, um, ranging from the innings, like when Pakistan were batting, they could have put on a better total. They could have finished better, and then with the ball, I think a better bowling unit or bowling unit that was performing better on their day would have put up at least more of a fight and made it harder for India than we did today. I think there was quite a lot of poor bowling in there, which made it very easy eventually for them. So yeah, overall in all facets, especially fielding, which has been an issue for quite a while, especially since the ODI squad was revamped. I think it was pretty disappointing overall.
Abdullah, as you mentioned that every Pakistani fan, like by heart, we were supporting our team, but our mind were ready. We all knew the reality that India has an upper hand. But do you, we won the toss in this match. Do you think was it the right decision to bet first? Like it's a pressure game, and every team like usually do prefer to bet first on the on any pressure game. So Any thoughts on the toss decision?
I don't think I don't think that teams too often rely on that. I would call it an outdated method of batting first because it's a pressure game only. But having seen the conditions in the first game, the Bangladesh and India game, where after that, I think the Indians made it quite clear that chasing wasn't very easy and that the pitch did have some assistance and it did slow down later on. So keeping, and especially with the lack of dew, otherwise Dubai is normally known to be a chasing friendly ground, but with the lack of dew, it was expected that it could be tricky. But at the same time, I think Gill said in the pre-match press conference that toss will not play such a big role because the match basically evens out after that, with no major advantage if you bat first or bowl first. So I think I don't have any issue with it. I think it was just simply a failure to execute the skills primarily, which led to the loss.
वैसे अब्दुल्ला भाई like Akib Javed winning the toss, choosing to bat first in a must-win game or a knockout game, and then losing the game. That reminds me of a PSL final. But like, let's go towards India's side. So the Ninja, what do you think? Like, was the how crucial was Hardik Pandya basically, and how was like the overall bowling of India, and how crucial was Hardik Pandya's spell in that and restricting Pakistan to 240?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys said, Bumrah wasn't playing, right? And initially, of course, Pakistan lost a couple of wickets, but Harshit Rana didn't really. I mean, he bowled well at the dead, but he's not in the same class as Bumrah, right? And Shami started off with 5 wides in the first over. We were wondering what he was doing. But look, I mean, Pandya to come back and take the top scorer. Um, he's worth his weight in gold. He showed that in the T20 World Cup as well, where he bowled that final over to get David Miller out. He's had his ups and downs. Personally, he's been booed by his home crowd in Mumbai as an IPL captain. But I mean, a guy who can bowl 135 and smack sixes, Pandya is the one of a kind player in India, man. Like, I mean, you can love him or hate him, but you can't deny the fact that he's a match winner. And yeah, today again, he didn't really need to do what he did with the bat. He could have just knocked it around and stayed there till the end. But that's just the kind of player Pandya is. You saw he wears his heart on his sleeve. A run out went down. And then he got that wicket with that catch in the outfield. You could see what it kind of meant for him as well. So yeah, Pandya game changer. There was a few game changing moments from Hardik Pandya, and really good to see him making a comeback after his lows of 2024.
Yeah, so like I heard during the innings break, I think Sunil Gavaskar and the host, I don't remember who, but they were discussing like the because Hardik Pandya bowled long spells and like I think he bowled like 8 overs, so that is why Kuldeep was able to bowl in the like last 10 overs and deliver, for India. So do you think like
Yeah,
Kuldeep in
and Kuldeep as well, bowling that spin towards the end of the innings. He bamboozled the players. You could see the Shaheen Afridi review. I mean, that even Virat Kohli would not have taken that review, and Kohli reviews everything, right? The ball was hitting middle stump, and Afridi went straight up. He had no clue where the ball was going. So again, Kuldeep is coming back after injury. He's again been fantastic, and I mean, look, this is a team, guys. What we're forgetting is that yes, India's lost in Australia in Test cricket. They've lost a few games there, but this is a team that was unbeaten in the World Cup in 2023, all the way to that game in Ahmedabad, right to the final. This is a team that's won a T20 World Cup unbeaten again. So in the limited over sphere, this is a team that's something to really reckon with. So it's quite hard to beat India at this point. Plus, honestly, the point is they're playing all their games in one place. They don't really need to adapt to conditions or any of that. There's no travel. This tournament, I don't want to say it on a Pakistani show, but it's loaded in favor of India, right? You don't have to do any travel. Pakistan is traveling outside Pakistan to play this game, and frankly, more of the drama and intrigue is taken place off the field. The game itself was tame, one-sided, but the whole Champions Trophy, like the logo didn't have Pakistan in it during India Bangladesh. Pakistan will not play in India. That's been actually more exciting for fans than the on-field cricket action, which has frankly been pretty tame. There's one exciting moment where Shaheen Pakistan bowled Rohit Sharma. That was a ball, as we all remember that 2021 game, right? I mean, you guys obviously probably watch that fairly much more often than I do, but that first over to Rahul and Rohit, but that was again that ball from Shaheen Afridi. It was kind of reminiscent of that curve, and it was great. But the action on field has taken a backseat, to be honest, and it's not been that competitive of late.
One thing like I want to ask more on Kuldeep, like when Kuldeep came to the international setup early on, he used to like flight the ball more, but then he got found out and he like improved his bowling speeds. But I think I saw this somewhere, but in the England series he started bowling slower again. So do you think like he like is this something about his injury recovery or something?
No, I think he's got the ability now. So if you can go up gears and down gears, once you have that ability, if you see the England setup, in fact, it was Kuldeep lost his place in the Indian side after being hit out of the attack in the 2019 World Cup by Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow. This is the 2019 game in England in that World Cup. He went back, worked to bowl quicker through the air. So once he got that ability to bowl quicker through the air, he became much more lethal because it gives the batsman less time to adjust. The ball is still spinning big, and you can always go back to bowling slower. It's harder to bowl quicker than to go back and bowl slower. So he always had that he could bowl slower, but to work on his body and his action to bowl quicker, that was what he added to his armory. That made him even more lethal. So he can switch those gears between bowling slow through the air and bowling quick through the air, which he saw today. He bowled quick through the air. He wasn't flighting the ball as much as he was during the England series.
Yeah, let's move towards Pakistan team. Abdullah bhai, I want to ask from you. In last match, Fakhar Zaman got injured in just after second ball while fielding. But before, when selectors, I guess they selected the squad while sleeping, or I don't know, they just picked the papers and whose name comes in and they selected the
Um,
squad. They
on this,
didn't pick
like
any
I
opener
would
in the
like to
squad.
add Hafiz
Yeah,
statement, मतलब कि वो like it was in Urdu, but हफीज भाई ने एक शो में कहा है कि जिसने भी सिलेक्शन
Mutmain.
की है मुतमईन स्मगलर की तरह वो सो रहे होंगे अब.
Yeah. So I want to
I
ask
think.
that. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, continue and finish the
Uh,
question.
my question was at that time they didn't selected Imamul Haq as an opener, but when Fakhar Zaman got injured, they just without wasting any second they bring in Imamul Haq, and Imamul Haq was playing in President Trophy match where he scored 150 runs, I guess, and he left that match after first innings. He was released by his team. He joined the team. He came in and he played the match. Don't you think they should have sorted something before the tournament and our batting order can be settled before the tournament, because the major issues was in the first match when there was no choice other than Saud Shakil and Babar Azam to open the innings.
Yeah. Okay, so just first on Mohammad Hafiz, I just wanted to point out that he has just led his team to relegation in the President's Trophy, and also after the match today, he said that Shaheen Afridi, Naseem Shah, and Haris Rauf can't win tournaments for Pakistan, so Pakistan should now give a chance to Mir Hamza and Muhammad Ali to win tournaments for Pakistan. So thumbs up to his suggestions, I guess. And regarding the squad, yeah, I think that there was quite a lot of confusion regarding the path that they took after Saim's injury, because obviously they were trying to cover different bases, but they didn't. Perhaps they lacked clarity, or because, like, for example, Fahim's selection was clearly done with this India game in mind, because they thought that they might need to play a fourth seamer in Dubai, but then they saw the conditions in Dubai, which basically made his selection redundant, because they were not going to play a fourth pacer over here. They needed more overs of spin, in fact. So I think that there was some confusion with that, but I still sympathize with them, in the sense that no matter what they did, there would be major problems in this team, because when you lose two players, like first, obviously, Saim Ayub is a big loss, and then when you lose another player for Har Zaman's quality, Pakistan simply don't have the resources to replace these players effectively. But I do think that the number of middle order batsmen they kept in the squad definitely showed that they weren't quite sure about their planning going into this tournament, and that's indicative of the way that they've handled the team coming into this tournament over the past few months, with the first playing Kamran Ghulam in the middle order, then switching to Tayyab Tahir, then giving Kamran Ghulam another chance at 3, then switching to Saud Shakir. So clearly there's some lack of faith perhaps in some of the players, so that led them to just select all of the middle order guys and leave the top order vacant, and then they had to make this last minute change. And on Imamul Haq, I just want to say one thing. He came into this match, I think he scored around 900 runs in the first class season at an average of 90. And for everyone who says that domestic jao khelo or achhe player ban jaoge, domestic cricket success does not necessarily translate to international cricket success. He looked as clueless and as hopeless as we've seen him look so many times in tournaments, and it was more of the same. And I don't think anyone was particularly surprised with how that went.
Yeah, sorry, my mic was muted. So, if you look at Imamul Haq's batting, I guess if we see that player playing, you can say he's just a pair of bilateral series, if I'm not wrong, because we haven't seen him performing in any multi tournament like in ACC Asia Cup or ICC tournaments. We haven't seen any type of performances from his side, like except that one which I remember in 2019 against Bangladesh. After that, we haven't seen any big performances from his side. So, and talking about our batting side, there was one stat via CricViz that 33% defensive shots from Pakistan's batters compared to 23% from India. And in last match, we have played 25 overs of dot ball. So, what's your take on our batting overall in this tournament? Because, like, on the in the reality, if you look at the reality, we are out of the tournament. But who knows? Pakistan cricket.
Yeah, I think today with the batting, obviously, first the problem started at the top with Imam's batting, his approach. First of all, it wasn't only that he was on the defensive; it was also that he was simply not able to keep up with the pace of the game. Like, there were so many plays and misses from him, and so many false shots, and eventually that just led him into a rut, and he got himself run out trying to take a desperate single. I think Babar he played pretty well, even though 23 or however many he scored is not enough, nowhere near enough. But at least he was looking to score and he looked good while doing so. And then Saud Shakil, I think, played a decent knock, even though he struggled at the start, but he recovered quite well. I think the real problem came with Rizwan, because, like we've seen with him so often, that when there's a slower pitch or when there are bowlers that he's not able to completely understand how to tackle, specifically his rotation against spin, that's always been a problem. And he just kept getting stuck. He kept digging himself into a deeper hole. and still he could have recovered that innings better if he finished well after that, because I think at one point he was on 16 or 46 or something. So after that, basically he batted at runner ball, he had recovered his tempo a little bit, but then he threw it away. And I understand why he was attacking at that point, because they were obviously behind the game. But still, to throw it away in that manner, and then for the other batsman to follow, to also do the same, I don't think it was only the dot balls. I think that there were a lot of poor decisions made by them, by the batsmen, with the attacking, with the shots where they attacked as well. I think that if they had approached the innings building in a better way, and Rizwan also pointed that out, I think, in the post-match press conference. He said that we've been making the same mistakes over and over in every match, and we did the same today. So I think if they had adopted a more measured approach and had more wickets in hand towards the end, then they could have put on a better score. I think 260, 270 would have been competitive here. Of course, had the bowlers actually bowled decently, which for the most part, they didn't.
So Dhananjay, on the same point, like as an Indian fan, do you think Pakistan's batting looked threatening, especially the partnership between Mohammad Rizwan and Southiki looked threatening for like any time? Do you think?
I wouldn't say threatening. It was taking along at like 4 runs and over, right? So it was. I think they were setting up to explode later on in the innings, which that impetus never actually came, and that was because they lost those wickets in that clump. After Rizwan went bowled to Akshar, which is a slightly weird dismissal actually, because Akshar actually slowed the ball down quite a lot, and Rizwan seemed to just miss it, which was I don't know what happened there, but I actually think Rizwan is batting in the wrong spot. I think his best spot is opening the batting, but what do I know about like top order, right? I feel he needs pace coming onto the ball to do his best work. But him batting at 4, I think he has to play those spinners, right? Um, the other problem really is like every time we play Pakistan, India plays Pakistan, the middle order is completely different. And there's no consistency of. So I don't know who half these guys are. I'll be honest with you. I don't know who Tayyab is, or I don't know who these guys are. Because they come from nowhere. By the next tournament coming around, they're gone. There's complete like I think it was Asif Ali, right? The big hitting guy that was around in the middle. He hit those sixes in the Asia Cup, if I'm not wrong. I don't know where he's gone. He was pretty good. Nawaz was another player in the 2022 T20 World Cup. I don't know where he's gone. Um, Imad, I think, was sitting in the crowd today.
He's retired.
I don't know where he's. So the problem is, it's not the batting; it's just the lack of consistency. And you look at the Indian cricket team. How much has that changed since the 2023 World Cup? Right? Like you've got the batting order is almost identical. I may even go as far as saying it's Gill, Rohit, Kohli, Shreyas, Rahul, Akshar Patel has made his way in at the expense of Sky, but that's pretty much it, right? Like it's the 5 out of the top 6 are the same. So if you don't have that consistency, these guys are not going to play together. Babar has been chucked out of the Test team. Like players are going to be unhappy, right? And for them, the problem with all of this is Pakistan fans and Pakistan team, they're expecting a miracle to win, which is not. It's where India was 40, 50 years ago, right? There's no method to that. How do you get to there? Now, Pakistan was very successful as a team for many years because they had great bowlers, the Wasims, the Wakars, the Mushtaq, the Saklen, all of those guys. And they combined that with batting like Zaid Anwar, Amir Sohail, Ijaz Ahmad, Inzamam ul Haq, like Javed Miandar before that. You have those names, right? Like there's nobody here that anybody will recognize. Maybe Babar Azam, who's only 30, by the way, but he looks washed up, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe a bit of Rizwan, but like there's no. When you say threatening, like this is not a threatening batting lineup. It's an okay batting lineup. I would not say this batting lineup anybody would lose sleep about it. But you look at the other teams. You got Travis Head, Steve Smith, Manas Labuschagne. When you think of Travis Head, then I'm worried, right? As an Indian cricket fan, that guy gives me sleepless nights. I don't get any sleepless nights from the names I don't know on this team sheet.
Yeah, I want Abdullah bhai to answer your question
And
about
Fakar
Tirza
Zaman would be
and
the other
yeah,
guy that I know, but he's not playing
yeah.
either, right? And Fakar scored that 100 in the final of the Champions Trophy.
Yes, Abdullah bhai, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think on the batting, besides the dot balls, I think the major disparity was also in the amount of boundaries that was scored, and simply this batting lineup just lacks the ability to hit boundaries regularly. Like the few players that you expect to, for example, you expect Tayyab to hit boundaries against spin. He got out in a few minutes. Salman Ali Agha also had a bad outing. We'll give him that because he's been doing really well for a while. But because after the loss of Simon Fakhr, there really wasn't much left. Um, I think it's time that also Pakistan has to realize at some point that you have to have like reasonably explosive batsmen in your team to win limited over games. Even though this is not the match and the pitch on which you should be discussing that strategy, but it's just a general thing that going forward it's a non-negotiable to have boundary hitting options and to have dynamic players in your lineup all across the order. You can only have so many of anchor type batsmen to risk at the risk of using T20 terminology in ODIs, which I don't like to do, but you have to look toward a more dynamic batting unit than what we have right now.
Yeah, just move towards bowling of, I guess, Pakistan second innings. We have seen some great start. We saw some great start from Rohit Sharma, pulling that pull shot, that aggressive start, like smashing Shaheen Afridi, smashing Naseem Shah. Like there was one point I was going to tweet against Shaheen Shah and he just took the wicket and I just changed my tweet. So what will you say on Indian batting, Dhananjaya? Like it was an exceptional, like I'm huge Virat Kohli fan, and seeing him scoring a century against any team, even it's against Pakistan, it was great to see. And you, as an Indian fan, how it's feel to you?
So I'll go with Rohit first. Rohit used to be an accumulator like never before. He scored three double hundreds in ODI cricket, right? So he used to start off slowly, but he had that ability to hit sixes at the back end. To ensure the success of the team, he scored 500s in the 2019 World Cup. Now he's given up that whole template of batting now. Now he goes out fast to score runs for the team. He partners really well with Shubman Gill. They actually make a very good combination. Gill scored 100 in the last game, so pretty good form. Rohit scored 100 2 games ago against England, so decent form finally after a long time. Kohli probably a little bit under pressure, but I would almost go as far as saying that Pakistan might be his favorite ODI and T20 opponent. I was actually in Melbourne when he played that famous knock of 82 not out. I was watching it from the ground, and I have to say I've never felt anything like that before. It was electric. Um, but Kohli actually didn't have to do very much, to be honest. He said, "This is my template. I milked the spinners, I attacked the pacers, and it came off." And the only danger in this game was that Shaheen Shah was going to bowl too many wides, so Kohli couldn't have enough runs to get to his 100 at one point. But I mean, it's a Dubai pitch, right? It's not Brisbane, Adelaide, or Southampton, or the Oval. So it's not a pitch where Kohli, once he gets in, is going to like he has to make a bad error to get out. He just cut out the risk from his game, and this is the template. He's got 5,100s in ODI cricket, right? He's the fastest to 14,000 runs, beating Sachin Tendulkar, who was possibly previously the greatest ODI batter ever. I think Kohli is, so, and this has happened during my lifetime. Like I would never think that Sachin's record could ever be even touched in ODI cricket because Sachin was so far ahead of everybody else in our time. But Kohli has kind of mastered the chase and mastered ODI cricket as a whole. And um, yeah, he scored a lovely even 100 not out. His average got a little bit of a boost as well. He told I think maybe the dressing room that just relax at the end of it. It was a very classic kind Kohli performance without maybe the emotion of Melbourne or like the old, the Kohli with the helmet off and the big celebration. This is a more mature kind of Kohli, knowing that he's got a job to do. He's got one eye on playing the 2027 World Cup. This is the Champions Trophy. Is a tournament probably without a lot of context at this point, because after this, like, the next big tournament is 2027, right? And Kohli wants to be there for that after what happened in Ahmedabad in 2023. I think Rohit and Kohli are basically ensuring they do well enough in this tournament to stick around for that, because I don't know, we'll probably play like 5 ODIs till the next World Cup, because India seem to mainly play test matches and T20s, right? So yeah, but I'm a massive Kohli fan. There's no doubt his form has fallen away. In the test game, he's retired from T20 cricket after that World Cup win. He got a 50 in the England T20s. It was good to see. Leg spin. You need to get a leg spinner to bowl at him. That's the answer, right? Preferably someone
Yeah,
called
like
Russian.
I hoped Abrar would do something like that, but it didn't happen. So
Yeah.
on Shubman Gill, I want to ask, like, what do you think makes him as successful as he is? Like in ODI, averaging over 60, strike rate over 100. He has like two consecutive centuries recently. I think I was reading somewhere like he has 7 Player of the Match awards in since 2020. Yes, but like, what do you think makes him as successful like as he is?
Yeah, he's come from a long line of Indian batters, right, that score big runs on flat pitches. And he's got that kind of short arm jab against the quicks on the offside, and the short arm pull against the quicks on the leg side. He's got a fantastic cover drive. He's all round player. He may not, again, he didn't do that well in the Australia tour, but
Yeah.
you have to remember he's 23, 24 years old. These are not guys that have been playing cricket. I mean, he's been playing cricket his whole life. International cricket, he's only made his debut maybe 3, 4 years ago, right? He made his debut in the test game in 2020, 2021. So he was a under 19 cricketer in Prithvi Shaw's generation in 2018, 2019. So they won the under 19 World Cup in New Zealand. So, I mean, Indian batters have to score a lot of runs to stay in this team. You have to get to the Indian national cricket team. There are, I don't know, millions of people that you have to be better than. And then to stay there is another story altogether. His captain in the under 19 World Cup, for example, Prithvi Shaw, made a 100 on test debut against the West Indies in 85 balls. But where is he now? He's out of the picture. He's been dropped by his IPL team. He's out of the Ranji team that he plays for, Indian team. At one point, he was seen as the next Sachin Tendulkar, and he's faded away. But Gill's kept his head on his shoulders. Rahul Dravid is a mentor to him. Rahul Dravid was the coach during a long part of Gill's emergence as a Indian cricketer. And yeah, I mean, it's about matching temperament to your talent, and Gill is starting to do that. And we call him the prince because, of course, Kohli is the king, but Shubman Gill is the heir apparent. And once Kohli retires, he'll be ready to take over the baton.
So we have talked
Shubman,
about Rohit, Kohli, and Shubman. So if we move down the batting order, there's Shreyas Iyer. Now it's like it has been famous for quite a lot of time that Shreyas doesn't know how to play a pull shot. But I think he played a couple of good ones today. So has he improved on that, and what do you think like has changed for him?
I mean, if you and I are talking about a guy not knowing how to play pull shot, I'm guessing he's worked on it, right? Because I mean, these players work hard, and once a weakness is identified, yes, he got out a few times, but I think this was picked up during the 23 World Cup as well. He's worked really hard, and he's worked on his back foot play as well. Again, it's not a fast track. It's not like Bumrah bouncing you or Pat Cummins bouncing you. It's fine. Like, It's he'll be able to play the short ball on these tracks. I'm not worried about that.
Okay, so Abdullah bhai, moving towards Pakistan bowling. Shaheen Afridi bowled 8 overs, 74 runs, 2 wickets, 9.25 economy. Naseem Shah bowled 8 overs, 37 runs, 4.62 economy. Then Haris Rauf 7 overs, 52 runs. And Khushdil Shah. Like the only economical bowler was Abrar Ahmed, who bowled 10 overs, 28 runs, gave only 28 runs and took one wicket. So, what do you think? Did we lack to have another spinner in the squad, another specialist spinners? Because as per Mohammad Rizwan and as per coach, uh, we have Salman Ali Agha and Khujil Shah as our frontline spinners as well. So, what's your take on today's bowling? Because in the start, Shaheen took one wicket, but he was smashed badly.
On the spinners part, Rizwan in the press conference said that if you look at India, they also have Kuldeep as their main spinner, and then Akshar Patel and Jadeja as their all-rounders. So like this, we also have Abrar Ahmed as our main spinner and Khujdil and Agha as our all-rounders.
Yeah, I think the spinner point is basically like it may sound odd, but that is actually what it is because when people say to include another spinner in the squad, what they mean is that you play five full-time bowlers and you make Shaheen or Naseem bat at number 7, which is not going to happen in any modern day team. I don't think any team would do that in an ODI, especially because you have to bat out 50 overs. So if you get another spinner, then what you need to do is you need to drop one of your primary fast bowlers and play Fahim Ashraf. And then if you play Fahim Ashraf, who is no Hardik Pandya, Fahim Ashraf is basically what we like. Like Hardik Pandya is what we like Fahim Ashraf to be, because then you have the luxury to play two frontline seamers.
And actually, Ben Stokes is what we would like Hardik Pandya to be as well. But like,
well, I think in limited overs, cricket, especially Hardik more than holds his own. Maybe not as a batsman, but as a bowler, he's pretty good. And I think that without having a player of that caliber, it becomes really difficult for you to make an 11 with two frontline spinners and to fit in three pacers somehow. Unless you're willing to compromise on the pace so much that you're including Fahim, who, as we've seen, even the last game that he played, I think he bowled only a couple of overs because obviously he's not considered a frontline bowler by any means. So that is the main thing. Yes, I think that they should have had another spinner in the system, and to have that option, if they were going to keep Fahim in the squad, then having another spinner. And so I don't like the insistence on Sufyan Mukim as a second spinner. I feel that if you need a second spinner, it needs to be a finger spinner, because if you're playing on a spin-friendly track, then a finger spinner is a better option than a wrist spinner who's primarily played T20 cricket. Sufyan has not really played much list A or longer format cricket at all. So having someone like Mehran Mumtaz around could have been good in this system. But then again, you would have to play Fahim Ashraf to do that. And I think that if you asked many Pakistani fans if they'd like to do that, I think they would say no. But then they'll also say they want another spinner, but they won't tell you how they want to fit that second spinner in. So coming back to the bowling performance today, I think it started okay. Like you understand that defending a reasonable total at best, mediocre total at worst, you expect someone like Shaheen to go for on the attack and to, especially once he realized his pace was up a little bit. Normally he's been bowling in the high 130s recently, but with the newer ball he was able to clock 145 today. So he thought that he can maybe bowl some of those fuller length deliveries, but I think that at some point they had to revert to a more orthodox plan, because as we saw, after he got Rohit, he probably got overexcited or he just wanted to blow them away with the fuller length. So he kept he kept bowling the good length balls, but then he would in the early overs, he basically bowled. I think he nailed mostly Yorkers and his good lengths. But after Rohit got out, he started missing some of his fuller lengths and landing them in the slot, and Gill took full advantage. And he continued doing that for the rest of the game. Basically, he kept attacking in the hope of trying to achieve something magical, but it clearly wasn't working out. These weren't the conditions where you could do that. The ball wasn't swinging a huge amount for him, and neither was his pace like 150 or something that he would be able to blow batsmen away, especially of the caliber that India have. So I think that going in with a more measured approach, like he generally has done recently, usually Shaheen has gone away from bowling fuller lengths. He sticks more to good lengths nowadays. But he went away from that for this game, and I think that showed in the end result for him. I think Haris Rauf, he got unlucky a couple of times with, I think, one or two catches were at least dropped off his bowling. And regarding the rest of the attack, Naseem had a couple of moments, but he was mostly just economical and bowling at a length and building some pressure. Who knows that if the others also focused on building pressure, because I do think that it was not such an easy track where you give 240 and 42 overs. Clearly, after the Indians, when they started bowling, they had some trouble early on in the power play, but then Hardik's spell and the way the spinners bowled showed that if you build pressure, then there is a way to contain batsmen. And I don't think that our bowlers did that well. I think Abrar was really the only bright spot because he did manage to provide some wicket-taking threat along with control. And nobody else really managed to do that consistently.
Abdullah bhai, on the second spinner thing, like, don't you think Shadab maybe was a suitable option for that? Like, you don't have anyone else, I guess, as a spin bowling all-rounder. Rafat and Mehran are maybe a little undercooked for an ICC tournament.
I think Arafat would be a good solution in terms of the 11 because then he allows you to play continue like he can develop into being the proper all rounder that you need. But I think that they clearly didn't have enough faith in him because first of all, neither has he played enough PSL games nor does he have any international exposure, so they were never going to throw him right into a tournament. I think that they did miss an opportunity earlier on the tours when they were touring Australia, South Africa, Zimbabwe. They could have included him in somewhere over there so that they would at least be able to know if they can play, if they can trust him enough to play in the Champions Trophy. They didn't do that. They didn't play him much, and then they just simply decided that no, he's too undercooked. So they went back to Khushdir. With Shadab, what can you say? Really, it's very disappointing that it's panned out for him the way it has. That he's out of contention right now, but I think he does majorly have himself to blame for that. Um, and even right now, when he's playing domestic cricket, he did well in the Faide Azam Trophy a few months ago, but since then he's really not bowled much. He just played. I think he was picked in the T10. He played that a little bit. He played some domestic cricket, suffered an injury, so he didn't bowl much in the second domestic tournament. Now he's playing the President's Trophy, and again he's not bowling much here at all. Mostly the pacers are required anyway, and they have other spinners. So it's a bit disappointing for him, but I can understand why they wouldn't go for him at this point because that would just be a pick out of desperation, like Imam was when you had to totally exhaust
Like
your
maybe
resources.
Fahim
Then
was.
you went back to him. Yeah. So I mean, Shadab, of course, in an ideal world, he would have been bowling well and he would have been a part of Pakistan's ODI squad. But it's just tragic that it didn't pan out that way.
And also on the like Shaheen moving away from the Goodland to Yorkers again today, like do you think it maybe has something to do with Glenn Phillips hitting him out of the park every time he bowls a length ball?
I think it was to do with the match situation because they felt that they were a bit under par, so they with the total, so they wanted to attack extra hard. But it's very unlikely that a strategy like that pays off against a team like India. You're not dealing with low quality players here. You're dealing with some of the best batsmen in the world. So you have to adopt a more measured approach. You cannot blow any batsman out of the park at this level. So, despite the fact that his pace was actually up and he looked good in the first few overs, but I think after that he probably ended up attacking a bit too much and had to pay the price.
All right, so we have discussed everything on today's match. Before wrapping it up, I want to ask Dhananjaya, what do you think India's chances in this tournament now for the final? Like,
So before the tournament started, I predicted India and New Zealand would make it out of this group. And that was not any offense to Pakistan or Bangladesh fans, but because New Zealand always make these ICC semi-finals no matter what. So I reserve one spot for them always. And then I'm an Indian cricket fan with an Indian cricket podcast. I have to say that India is going to make it, right? So I think India and New Zealand will make it out. Sorry, guys. And then honestly, once you get to the knockout stages of these games, anything can happen. Honestly, anything can happen at that point, right? So, um, on the other side, of course, Australia. I'd said Australia and Afghanistan would make it. Australia are looking good. Afghanistan are not looking as good, having lost to South Africa in the first game. So, probably looks like an Australia South Africa, and that's hard. If India come up against either of those teams, that's a 50-50 shot. And then it is a Champions Trophy, man. You can't predict after a point. I think after the group stage, all predictions go out of the window, to be totally honest with you. So I think India have got a 25% chance of making to the final, right? That's the mathematics of it. So
So, Dhananjaya, let's wrap it up with a slightly controversial question. I mean, you're an Indian at a Pakistani podcast, so
mm,
let's address the elephant in the room. Like, do you think it
mm.
is fair for India to not come to Pakistan in a tournament hosted by Pakistan?
See, this is all politics, right? It's beyond the scope of a cricket podcast, to be honest. This is more better fodder for a politics podcast. But see, Pakistan have got their own back now, right? So they're not coming to India for the next 3 years. So tit for tat,
Yeah.
everybody's happy. So look, life will go on. It's sad for cricket fans because we've lived through an era where India have toured Pakistan, Pakistan have toured India, Pakistan have even got a standing ovation at a ground in India in our lifetimes, right? Is that going to happen again? I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. But I mean, what is fair and what is fair? I mean, life is unfair, right? Like you can't. Politics is beyond the scope of cricket. And the last tour I think was 2007, probably Pakistan coming to
2012.
India.
Pakistan went to
Was
India
it 2012 for
2012.
the ODIs?
Yeah, ODI and
Was it
T20, the
ODIs?
Junaid Khan
Yeah.
series.
The Junaid Khan series. Yes, another guy who's gone. He got Kohli out like 3 times, I think. But I mean, it's sad, right? Like
Yeah,
Kohli's never played Pakistan in a Test match, and Ashwin is retired from Test cricket without playing. One of the greatest bowlers of a generation has never played. One of the Test playing nations. So they'll keep meeting in ICC tournaments, and the ICC will contrive to make sure that India meet Pakistan at least once or twice a year. Right? Like they need the revenue, so that's fine, and we'll carry on until things become better politically. But I mean, it's not a question that any of us can solve until things move in the right direction at a higher level. So. From a cricket perspective, of course, it's sad, but like, there are larger things at play, right? So it's not controversial as such. I'm probably sitting on the fence, but that's because I don't have an answer for you.
yeah, because at the end, if we can play each other on any neutral venue, and if not cricketers, if we as a podcast host can host each other on our platform, so why not we can visit each other's countries as well. So thank you very much for joining Dhananjaya, and thank you very much for joining Abdullah bhai as well. So best of luck to India for the rest of the matches, and hope so. As an Asian, we would love to see India lifting another ICC trophy, and
Oh,
whoever,
that's good.
yeah,
Thank you very
yes.
much. Good luck for the rest of the tournament, guys. You never know, right? You never know. Pakistan 92. Who knows? Who knows what
There,
happens?
but yeah, there's also a term Kudrat ka Nizam, so who knows?
Good. Indeed. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye
Those who
bye.
have joined,
Thank
like,
you.
share, subscribe, and do visit thesportsite.com. Take care. Allah.